So obviously I think it's named after you, Salt.
Well, actually, it's not.
Gaselda here. She is a black rat snake. Right now, we're using it to house a bald eagle.
Hi everyone, my name's Emily Febry. I'm also known as Ranger M. I'm an environmental communicator and educator, and I get to talk to a lot of different people about all things nature and conservation. I love to knowledge share, and that's what I want to do with you. So come on, let's go learn with Ranger M. Today I'm at Salthaven Wildlife Rehabilitation and Education Center, and we're going to learn all about what they do for animals. So come on, let's go meet up with Brian. Well, Brian, thanks for joining me today, and I've actually heard a lot about you through my own work and through my personal life, just working in the outdoor world. So I'm really happy to chat with you today and to learn more about yourself and Salthaven and everything you guys do here. So thanks for joining.
Well, you're welcome. I'm excited to be here.
I was wondering, to start us off, if you could tell us a bit about the history of Salthaven. So obviously I think it's named after you, Salt.
Well, actually, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Not too many people know this, but in 2004 we were incorporated, and of course we had to come up with a name, unless we wanted just a number, and we couldn't think of anything. And I was reading this book about this fictitious land, and these ships would come into the harbor every night, and they were kind of curious workmanship, and in the morning they'd be all gone. And the gist of the story is that these ships would cross over into other dimensions, and the name of the harbor that they were in, Salthaven.
Okay.
And I thought, that's perfect, because the animals that come here are like they're going into another dimension to be healed, released, and free type of thing. And I thought that would be a perfect name. So that's where the name came from. But it fits very well with the family name too, and that's what everybody thinks, right?
Yeah. Have you always been in kind of wildlife rehab, or what were you doing prior?
I came from an entertainer background. I was a musician, and we had the group that I worked with, we had 4 songs in the top 10 in the Canadian charts. We opened shows for, I don't know who you'd know, Beach Boys,
Oh, wow.
Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, Roy Orbison, Mamas and Papas, Ricky Nelson, John Cougar Mellencamp, to name a few.
Wow.
And when you're a musician 24/7. It never shuts off. You wake up in the middle of the night with an idea for a song. Well, you better get out of bed and write it down, right? And it's the same thing here. I don't get too much inspiration about writing songs anymore, but you're a wildlife rehabilitator 24/7. There's always animals that need to be cared for, fluids for them in the middle of the night, or medications or whatever. So it's a busy, busy job. And so I'm accustomed to the lifestyle, and I like what I do, so it's not really work,
So since 2004, has Salthaven changed much? I think recently you guys have grown a lot, right?
Yeah, we have grown a lot. In 2004, we were operating out of what we called it a clinic, but it was really a shed with an air conditioner. That's basically what it was. But you know what? We did as many animals in that little shed as we do now. Now we can do it better because we have a better facility. And we built the new clinic with tours in mind. We had the glass windows that people can see in what's going on behind the glass. But then COVID hit, and then now we have highly pathogenic avian influenza. So we're waiting. But one day we're going to be able to have tours here and have the public come in and see what goes on behind the scenes.
Oh, that would be great. I feel like a common perception of certain animals like raccoons and maybe foxes and so on is like, if you ever see them in daylight, they're most likely sick.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Well, it can be, but it's not always true. Right now with raccoons, and has been for the last 4 or 5 years, distemper is really the culprit here. Well, they had a problem with rabies in raccoons in the Hamilton area for the last 3 or 4 years, but it's kind of quelled now, and things are better with that. But now we get probably half a dozen calls a day for raccoons with distemper, and there are some very distinct symptoms that are easily recognizable. One of them being out during the day, but wandering aimlessly. I mean, a normal healthy raccoon would be up the nearest tree if you were within 50 meters of them, but these raccoons don't seem to be bothered by it. Crusty eyes, limping. Their pads on their feet get really hard and crusty, and they don't like it, so they start self-mutilating and chewing their feet, and it's a horrible, horrible disease. And once the symptoms become neurological, they're going to die. There's no coming back from it. So they should be humanely euthanized. And that darn virus can hang out in the environment for up to 4 months in the right conditions. And they carry both canine and feline distemper too. So cats, dogs, other raccoons, skunks, it's pretty awful.
Is there anything we can do as community members to help prevent the spread of distemper?
One of the things, I guess, is to have your pets vaccinated. If you have a dog or a cat that's vaccinated, there's no worries. But if they're not, like I say, that virus can hang around in the environment for quite a while, and your dog goes sniffing around, and you can get it too. So it's really important, especially now with that distemper being as prevalent as it is in the environment.
If someone were to be driving down the road and they come across maybe or even themselves accidentally hit an animal, could you kind of go through the process of maybe them contacting you and what they should do?
Yeah, that's a very traumatic experience for a lot of people, especially those people that love wildlife and animals in general. Yeah, giving us a call. Most police departments, humane societies, veterinarians, they know who Salthaven is, and they have our phone number. So if they give us a call, our phones are answered from 8 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. And if we're not full for that particular species, we can take them. But we get to that point in the summertime where we do get full. Right. There's only so much we can do. You know, you figure we get, on a really busy day in the summertime, we'll get as much as 150 phone calls for sick, injured, or orphaned wildlife. You just can't take them all in. So what we try to do in those circumstances is put people in touch with other wildlife rehabilitators that might be able to. We have a list that we give them, and they can make those phone calls and hopefully find help that way.
There's obviously a large need for wildlife rehab based on what you're saying right now. But I know your clients don't really pay you.
No.
So how do you keep your center going? Like, are you dependent on grants or donations kind of thing?
Yeah, all of the above. Donations are huge. Oftentimes people that will bring us an animal will leave a donation, and that helps us to keep things going here. We work on grants. We do a lot of grant writing. We've had some estates left to us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, people are just dying to give us money. But all of that is important, and there's no one thing that is really a standout, but all together, it really does make a difference. A lot of it is, we don't have a clue. An animal comes in and we're not sure. We rely on veterinarian expertise, and some of that can cost money. X-rays. Gosh, like a set of x-rays, you're talking at least $150, and there are follow-up visits and so on. So yeah, the financial side of Salthaven is always a concern, and one that is going on in the back of our mind. Salthaven isn't about one or two people. It's a community effort, really, is what it is. And as long as it remains that way, I think we're going to do okay.
Yeah, because actually you were saying just before we started filming that you depend very highly on volunteers as well.
Oh yeah, our volunteer program is really the lifeblood of Salthaven. Our volunteers work with their hearts as well as their hands. I mean, they're amazing. We get about 90 applications starting January 1st every year right through to the 1st of March. And we'll choose maybe 25 of those people. My favorite thing is that 1 and 1 does not equal 2 when you have that symbiotic relationship going. 1 and 1 is 11, and that's the power that Salthaven is. We're 11.
That's awesome. Obviously, you're a group of very compassionate and dedicated individuals. So if I were to be in your shoes, I don't know how I wouldn't be able to create a connection with all of the wildlife that comes in. Is it hard sometimes to say, goodbye when they fly or run away kind of thing?
Yeah, when you have a bald eagle and you're the last set of hands that's ever going to handle that bird likely, and to see it go, it was sick and probably wouldn't have survived in the wild on its own, but now it's healed and released and free. And wow, that's really something. And yeah, the volunteers get emotionally involved. We try hard not to let that happen. For the longest time, I didn't allow our volunteers to give the animals names because you become too attached, right? And but I gave up on that. I mean, it's going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
And our job here is to keep the wild in wildlife. If when we're done and they have become habituated or imprinted on people, we've failed. And they're going to lead a very diminutive life out in the wild.
So we kind of spoke about what someone could do if they hit or injure an animal kind of thing, or find an injured animal. What do you do once you get an animal, once it's brought to you or you go and pick it up?
The first thing is getting information that helps us to understand, because the animal can't tell us what's wrong. So it's like a black box. And so the donor that is bringing the animal to us, we try to get as much information as we can from them so that we can kind of get a picture as to what might be wrong, what kind of medication might be used, what care the animal's going to need. He's going to need to be in a warm, humid condition, perhaps. He's going to need fluids to counteract things like shock, and medications, perhaps, like with head trauma, hitting a window. You'd use a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory to reduce brain swelling. So all these little things help us to administer to the animal to the best of our ability, and then the rest is really up to him and Mother Nature as to which way it's going to go. But the food is another thing too, because you get baby birds in. Their dietary needs change as they get bigger. So you have to be aware of that too. It's a job. It's really coordination. That's why I say our volunteers and trainers are the lifeblood of everything we do here.
Yeah, that's amazing. How long do you think, I know it probably differs on the type of animal and the injury and stuff, but how long do you keep an animal normally? Or what's the longest you've kept an animal kind of thing, besides your ambassadors, I guess?
Yeah. Well, about a year, I think, would be the longest. It really depends on the animal itself sometimes. And yeah, resources. I know I hate even mentioning that, but it boils down to that sometimes. Do we have the room? Do we have the medications? Do we have the staff to be able to, make sure this animal's going to see it through to the end? Because if we're expecting him to stay here for 3 months, what kind of life is he going to live while he's here? I mean, if he's going to be scared out of his wits because there's too much noise or whatever. So we have to be cognizant of all those things in order to get them back out into the wild again. First of all, we get all the information. Then they go to the triage room. And in the triage room, we give them a cage card, a medication chart. We administer to their immediate needs, wounds, fluids, that kind of thing. And then they're assigned to a room. So we have a mammal room, and just down the hall we have a avian room. And the avian room is where all the birds go. And so we may have, and those birds, oh my gosh, like some of them need to be fed every 20 minutes from sun up till sundown. So that's a huge job. So you look on the counter and you may see a dozen of these little kitchen timers, and they're all going off at, saying, okay, that one needs medication, this one over here needs food, and so we have another room, we call our lab room. We have 2 isolation rooms. So if an animal comes in and we're not sure what he's got, we don't want to be infecting the whole clinic with that. So these isolation rooms have their own ventilation, their own heat, their own cooling, and their own humidity. So you were fairly well equipped that way.
Another way I actually learned a lot about you and your programming was actually you've done a TV show for Rogers as well.
We have done that. It's kind of fun to, I guess, to see how things work here from a different perspective, through the eyes of a camera. And, sometimes I'll see something that they've shot and I'll think, God, I'll never do that again. I look stupid there. But yeah, and that's the other thing too, we don't know. We just don't know everything. There's so much that we don't know about nature and wildlife. My gosh. But, as stupid as I am, you learn something over 35 years,
Yeah.
being involved. It's going to fall in your lap sooner or later. But it's a wonderful thing to work at because there's always something new, and you're learning something new all the time, and I think that's part of the satisfaction we get. It's like exploring new things.
hi Mel, thanks for joining us. I was just wondering if you could tell us a bit about yourself and your role here at Salthaven.
I am the operations manager here at Salthaven. I've been full-time here for 2 years, but I've been a volunteer in various capacities since 2008.
Wow, so
Yeah.
you're a long hauler.
Yeah, definitely. They can't get rid of me. They've tried.
Perfect. Well, you're going to tell us a bit about this building that's behind us. What exactly is it?
So what we're standing in front of right now is called a raptor muse. So it is where we house our ambassador, so our educational animals who live here full time. We have 4 raptors or birds of prey living here right now. And it's also where our bird of prey patients go to live as well. We have a snowy owl. They are native here to Ontario, but they migrate down from up north and they come down here for the winter. And then we have a lager falcon a little bit further down named Shakar. They're not native here to Ontario. They're actually from Southeast Asia. He came to us as a patient. He was being bred for falconry.
Okay.
And he figured out how to untie the knot that was holding him onto his perch. And so he ended up coming to us as a patient because he got trapped in the tree, and he has been here for 19 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long do they live?
Good question. In the wild, they can live about 15 to 20 years, but in captivity, we can extend that to 20 or 25. And that's because we take away that risk of predation and, you know, food is abundant. And then down in the very end, we have a bald eagle whose name is Spirit, also an ambassador. And he came to us also as a patient. They are native here to Ontario. And he ran into a high tension power line and ended up having to have one wing amputated, and he lost one eye. So he's not flighted, so we keep his enclosure safe for him, and everything he can climb or jump on, and he likes to greet all of the volunteers with a nice high-pitched little call. It's really cute.
All right, Mel, who's this?
So you have Gaselda here. She is a black rat snake, and she's an educational ambassador here with us. You can see she is quite active, and she loves to go for a crawl around outside. It's actually part of her daily enrichment. So every day we take her, well, when the weather's warm enough, we take her outside, we let her slither around. Her favorite thing to do is climb anything and everyone. These guys are native here to Ontario.
Yeah.
They are constrictors, so they don't eat live prey. They constrict and eat their prey afterwards. So there are 2 distinct populations here of black rat snakes. There's the Frontenac axis and the Carolinian axis, and they are threatened and endangered. And one of the biggest problems facing them is habitat loss. So people perceive snakes as being malicious or not friendly, but they are actually our biggest allies in rodent control, and they serve such a purpose in the ecosystem. One of the threats that these guys face also, other than just habitat destruction, is secondary rodenticide poisoning. So people are trying to control the rat and mouse population by putting out rat poison. The mice and rats will eat that, but they don't stay where the poison is. They wander back out outside, and then they're an easy target for someone like Gaselda or a rat snake or a fox or a bird of prey to eat. And the poison actually goes up the food chain, and it ends up being lethal to not just the mice and rats, but also to the predators who are eating them.
All right, Mel, on to the next building. Can you tell us a bit about this one?
Yeah, for sure. So what we're standing in front of is called the Bat Bungalow, and it's being built for our bat population. We rehabilitate. Last season we did over 40 bats. This season we're at about 24. And what we're going to use this for is when the weather gets warm enough, we can bring the bats outside and use it to condition them before releasing them. So we use it to build up their muscles. And you can see that the netting on the bat house is wide enough to let insects come in. So what it'll do is it'll give them a natural environment to learn how to hunt, because they're aerial insectivores, so they'll dive through the air and chase the insects. The other nice fact is that we actually had 4 pups, so 4 babies born in captivity this year, and this will allow the babies to learn how to hunt before they're released.
They'll just be kind of flying around, mostly at nighttime, obviously, right?
Yeah. So we're going to add in some bat houses so that they can, what we call roost during the day, so they can go and sleep during the day. And then we're going to put in some light sources to attract the aerial insects into the bat house, and then that way they can hunt at night when they're ready to come out.
Tell me about this building.
For sure. So this we have named the Lush Lodge because we partnered with Lush Cosmetics, and through their charity pot program, we were able to raise the funds to build this flight pen.
Wow, that's awesome.
So it is a 40-foot by 20-foot flight pen, and we've fit the inside all with various height perches. And right now we are using it to house a bald eagle who's recovering from a fractured wing. And we had to put him through a program of wing wrap, physiotherapy, and laser therapy.
Okay.
And then after monitoring through x-rays, we were able to get him to a point where his fracture had healed. And now he's just conditioning in the flight pen, and he's building up muscle and building up endurance, and also giving him time to let those feathers grow back.
Well, this is a great structure, and awesome that you could partner with Lush and kind of get it built and everything.
Yeah, we're really fortunate.
Yeah, so I think there's one more place to explore, and I can't wait to see inside.
You got it. To the clinic.
Obviously, we're inside your clinic,
We are.
and I would just love to see a little bit more of it.
For sure. So we have upgraded. We used to be in a 1-room facility. We're now in an 8-room facility. So
wow.
we're spoiled. It's really nice. What we have here behind me is called our triage room. So this is where all patients come in to start. So everything comes in as an admission. So we admit the patient. They come in here and they're assessed by our trainers. And that's when we come up with a treatment plan and a protocol for each animal. Behind you on this door, we have what's called the mammal room. The mammal room is, you can probably guess where all the mammals go.
Right.
So right now it is full of squirrels and bunnies, and eventually we'll get opossums in there as well. And we are constantly feeding them throughout the day and cleaning when they're really small. So right now, being spring, we get a lot of babies. So they feed a special formula for them. And then behind you on the other side is what's called the lab room. So we have our microscopes, and it's kind of a lab room / an intensive care unit. So we have our microscopes, and we have our incubators, and anything that needs a little bit of extra care that might be meant just for the trainers to take care of. So that would be in this room. Over here in front of us, we have the avian room, and you can hear the birds are singing in there right now. We have a couple clutches of babies right now, which we call either hatchlings or nestlings, and then fledglings, depending on what stage they're in. Some of them are in incubators, others are in little nests, and they get fed up to every 15 minutes.
Gosh.
Depending on the age. So they keep us busy. So what we're coming up to here on your left is what's called the bat room. This room is where we house and overwinter all of our bat patients that come in. And this room's unique because it has its own ventilation system. So when the bats come in the winter, we have to keep it really warm and really humid. So we keep it at about 60% humidity and probably like 26 to 28 degrees Celsius. So
nice to work in there.
It's toasty. Yeah. The room behind you here is called our tub room. So it's kind of where we keep our more unique patients. Right now we have some reptiles and amphibians in there. We have a painted turtle, we have a snapping turtle, and we have one of our ambassadors, Gaselda, who is a black rat snake, and we have a garter snake who just had surgery.
Oh.
So yeah,
Wow.
yeah, pretty cool. And it's where we can house any waterfowl that come in as well, because the tub is ready for them. Yeah.
I want to thank you again for showing us the clinic and your outdoor facilities as well, and telling us all of your fun facts about all of the amazing animals that you get here. And again, thank you for all that you do for wildlife and nature.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. It was great.
Well, just to wrap up, Brian, thank you so much for joining me. I was just wondering if you could share, I believe you have social media, a website, and obviously people can watch your show on YouTube.
They can.
But it's just, would they find you just at Salthaven?
Yeah, salthaven.org. That's our website. And yeah, if you have an animal that you're not sure, you can go right to our website. I found an animal, and it'll tell you what to do to be safe with it. We have social media, Facebook, just about every social media thing that you can put your finger on. If you know how to use that, you can find us there. And our social media, Aaron does a great job on that, and we try to keep that reasonably up to date. Every other day maybe there's a new posting going on, so you can follow Salthaven behind the scenes really and see that. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Pretty cool.
Well, thank you so much for joining me, Brian. I truly appreciate and respect what you and your team are doing here and what you're doing for wildlife.
Well, Ranger M, thank you for coming to Salthaven.
Thank you. Thanks for joining me today. I hope you learned just as much as I did about wildlife and Salthaven. If you want to learn more, or if you find an injured animal, you can visit salthaven.org. And until next time, see you in nature.